buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That'll just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Across the world on the interwebs and around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and FM translator, it is The Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live. Hello and good morning to you. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Middle of the week, downhill slide. Gosh, I can see Firearms Friday from here, can't you? All right. Well, today, well, first of all, the last 6 minutes have been very interesting. I've been trying to simulcast the old radio show on Facebook this morning, and there is no joy in Mudville for you Facebook users today. It just doesn't like me. Does not like me. So that's okay. We are all on YouTube this morning, broadcasting our simulcast. So if you've been following along this morning, feel free to join us over there. On YouTube. Where you will find all the good stuff that's fit to print. Hi, how are you? Today on the program, remember yesterday I just said that the whole week was full and it was all going to be good? Well, unfortunately, we lost one of our guests this morning. Mike Schauer got waylaid and ended up having to call out. He'll be back next week. Special thanks to him for taking time out to come out and join with us every week when he has the availability to do so. So that means hour 2 of the broadcast today is just going to be me and you. Just me and you hanging out, doing our thing, and we look forward to that coming up next week. We'll be visiting with Schauer next week, but we look forward to hanging out with you and chatting with you guys in hour 2 on pretty much anything. In hour 1 today on the program, we're going to be joined by a candidate for Alaska Legislative District House 25, and that is going to be Larry Wood, who's going to be joining us here in just a few moments. We'll be talking to Larry about his candidacy. He's running for office, and boy, he's got quite an extensive career and biography here, and it's good to hear from Larry, and we will be talking with him here in just a bit. And getting his take on what's going on in state government and why he is now running for the House of Representatives and the State House of Representatives, and what we can expect from his campaign and from him if he is elected, etc., etc., etc. As I mentioned earlier, a couple different ways you can participate in the show. As always, just listen as you are now on the radio. But if for some reason you've fallen and you can't get up and you can't reach your radio, you could always use your smart device, your phone, your tablet, your computer. You could find the audio stream at my website, which is at michaeldukeshow.com. You can listen to the podcast later on after the show. If you miss anything or you want to go back and re-listen to say, did Dukes really say what I think he said? I mean, you know, and the answer is probably no. I probably didn't say what you thought I said, but it is possible. It is possible. We'd love to hear everything from you this morning and talk with you. You can also, of course, drop me an email. The email address is me@michaeldukeshow.com. me@michaeldukesshow.com. Okay. All right. So, what are we going to start off with today? Well, there is going to be a segment today of the good news. The good news. That's going to be happening also in hour 2. We might get to it here. We might get to a little bit of it here in hour 1, but as of right now, I'm planning on only covering it in hour 2, just so that you are aware of what's going on. We will we'll get it going on. All right. So where should we start? Where should we start? I've got a few comments. I've got a few notes from the trail. In fact, that's probably a good place to start, I guess, notes from the trail. That is Suzanne Downing. She's got kind of an ongoing running commentary on everything that's going on around the state. And when it comes to elections and elected officials and candidates and everything else. And she's starting right here. Looks like Paul Hooper, who is a lieutenant governor candidate out of Homer, running with Chris Kirka, broke his leg a couple days ago. Broke his leg a couple days ago and is now laid up in Anchorage for the time being. So he won't be campaigning with the team for a little bit. Kirka, who is, of course, a Republican candidate from the Valley, who is running right of pretty much everybody, said he will have to continue the campaign without his running mate and wingman, and things will continue to go on. Also, more batches of endorsements are now out. Sarah Palin received the endorsement from the National Rifle Association, the NRA. So good for you. Good for her. That's a coveted endorsement. Nick Begich was also endorsed by lifelong Alaskan and Fairbanks Borough Mayor Bryce Ward. Both Palin and Begich, of course, running for Congress. Both are lifelong Republicans, and both have received endorsements that are coveted amongst a variety of people. Obviously, the NRA one is a bit more of a national deal, but people like Mayor Ward in Fairbanks. So this is, I think that's a good deal for him. It's a big thing. What else? What else is going on the trail? Tara Sweeney, running for Congress in the regular primary, wants to remind voters that they can write in her name in the special general election and then flip over the ballot and vote for her in the regular primary. She does not appear on the special general election ballot, but appears on the regular primary ballot. Now, my question is, after our conversation with Chris By here a couple of weeks ago, is did she file as a regular write-in candidate? Did she get all that paperwork in? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But it'll be interesting to see what's going on. Folks up in Fairbanks are experiencing going to be experiencing Golden Days this weekend. Also down in Delta, it's the Deltana Fair and Music Festival. And then in Soldotna, it is Progress Days. So these people are going to be zipping all around they're going to be zipping all around the state, running from all the candidates, anybody who's going to be a candidate for these things, they're going to be zipping all around the state, trying to cover all these events. But it's going to be good. And I will note that Governor Dunleavy has finally got in gear. I was just having a conversation yesterday with some folks who were, a couple different folks, friends, and probably names you'd recognize outside of politics, nobody who's elected, but who's been kind of an insider on a lot of this. And there was a lot of discussion between us on why the governor has not really done much as far as, campaigning for the August primary, which is, I mean, folks, we are, 3 weeks, 10, 11 days plus 17. We're 28 days away from the, no, that's not right. 27 days, 27 days away from the primary and the special general election. And just now, the governor is finally deciding to hold a kickoff. And by just now, I mean a week from now. He's going to hold a volunteer kickoff in Fairbanks for his Fairbanks team and Fairbanks office over there on July the 27th. So, okay, that'll be interesting. Kathy Hensley also running for State House. She is holding her fundraiser on next Monday, the 25th. In Anchorage down there. She's going to need some support on that as well. So that's kind of the roundup. Thank you, Suzanne Downing, for putting that together for things around the state. Also, I don't know if you saw this story. I don't even know if I want to cover it, but I think I'm going to. I'm going to simply because it's weird. Sarah Palin, on a podcast this week, she made an accusation. She said that talk show host Dan Fagan, who has the top-rated talk show host in Alaska, top-rated by whose standard? I mean, he may have the top-rated show in Anchorage because this air show does not. I used to be number one in talk radio in Anchorage back in the day when I broadcast in Anchorage, but I don't do that anymore. I don't have a station in Anchorage, so. But top-rated? How do you... I'm going to take exception with that part of it just for a second because, wow. Anyway, who has got the talk show on KENI, which is one of the stations in Anchorage, had a crush on her. This is what she said. She said that he has had a crush on her for many years and that he became her critic after she rebuffed him. To which Fagan immediately took to the airwaves on Tuesday and took strong exception with that statement. He said it's a matter of character for Fagan. He said that Palin is accusing him of making overtures towards her when she was a married woman. And he said that she's hyper-ambitious, do whatever it takes to win, con artist, and a serial liar. It's not surprised that she would claim she rebuffed my unrequited crush, and I turned on her as a result. I have no romantic feelings for Palin. I mean, what? This is the... What? Yeah, by the way, Dan Fagan broadcasts out of Lee. He's not even in Alaska. I mean, heck of a nice guy, I'm sure, but I mean, I'm a little salty about that. I'll be honest with you. A little salty about that. Anyway, this is the statement. She said, he was at my home hanging out with me. It was almost like he had a crush on me for many years. And she said, and then, though, when he was kind of rebuffed, watch this. This is going to be a takeaway for Fagan. He kind of turned on me, boo-hoo. That's what she said. What? What? So, I mean, it was... that's his story. This is what she actually said, that Dan Fagan is only harsh to her because he had a crush on her and she told him no. That's the only reason you can criticize somebody? I don't know. I again, one of those things. Okay. All right. Well, we're up against the break. We might as well pull the plug on this. Thank goodness for the good news coming up at the top of the next hour. That's where we'll start things off, and that will be much better. All right. I will continue. Yeah, what is this, middle school? He had a crush on me, so I just dumped him, and, wow. All right, we got to go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll be back. Larry Wood's coming up, our guest. Candidate for GOP House seat in District 25. Back with more right after this.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show. Radio.
Yeah, I read that story. It came out yesterday, and I read this story, and I went, what? Of course, after saying that he's a top-rated talk show host in Alaska. Well, baby, if you want to talk about footprint, just look right here. Biggest footprint in the state. Yeah, I'm a little salty about the whole not being on in the Anchorage market thing. It's a pet peeve. I have offered this show to a couple stations in the Anchorage market when people started to leave. And by people, I mean Dan Fagan and Rick Rydell. And I got a whole lot of hemming and hawing and everything else, and then nothing. The irony is that I got offered Dave Steeran's show when he left, but I was like, I'm already doing a show. I'm already doing a show statewide in the morning. I don't need to do an afternoon show too. But anyway, I'm a little salty about that. Let me get things squared away here. What was my final? You will call me. Okay, just want to make sure that I got it all squared away this morning here. Whoops. It looks like. Let's try this right here. He just tried to call. That was I apparently didn't realize that I had my phone. I thought it was ringing, but. Okay, now it's beeping busy. Let's try this again. Come on, Larry. We'll get you on the phone. There we go. We'll get you going here this morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Larry. How are you?
I'm here.
Good. Are you on a headset? Are you holding the phone, or what are you doing here?
Holding a phone.
Okay. All right. I got a little bit of background noise. I was just wondering. It sounds like you're.
Let me turn the fan off.
Yeah. I can hear the, sounds like you're standing next to a dishwasher or something. All right. We're ready to dive into this here. You all ready to go this morning?
About as ready as it gets.
Oh, come on. One more cup of coffee, my friend. One more cup of coffee, and you will be all squared away, right?
Hot tea and no.
Hot tea and no. Yeah, okay. All right. I could, hey, that's fair. That is very fair at this early stage in the game here. All right, well, Larry, hold the line for me, and I'll be right back to you. It's just me and you, and I don't know how many of our closest friends on YouTube right now. There's a few in there, 34 watching right now. So hold the line, and we'll be back to you here in just be back here. All right, good morning. Okay, that link doesn't work. I don't know what link you're talking. Oh, is there still? I suppose I need to put up a link to the show this morning. Is that what I need to do on the Facebook page? Because Facebook is being retarded this morning. I can't. All right, let me go over here. Let me do this. Let me see if I can get. There we go. Almost got it. No. God, Facebook, you are so... Go home, you're drunk. Facebook is so useless today. All right. let me get this posted up here so that we can. Let me go. Let me just say, no Facebook Live this morning. Facebook is being stupid. Go to YouTube. Brink. All right, there we go. Posting it up right now. Not now. Not now. All right. I posted it up on Facebook because, you know, there you go. And the bell means we're coming back to it. Make sure that you like and share this video, or like and subscribe. Subscribe and ring the... Do all the YouTube-y things on this page right now. Do it now. Larry Wood, our guest. We're up next. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. All right, welcome back to the program, and good morning. Wednesday edition of the Michael Duke Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station, an FM translator, but not in Anchorage. You ready to go? Let's dive into this. Our new guest here this morning is Larry Wood. He is a GOP candidate for House District 25. Now, Larry's got quite the resume. He has been around for quite a long time. He is a Christian, conservative, Republican, pro-life, married for 50 years to an Alaskan teacher with 27 years of experience, a 67-year resident, great-grandfather, 3 kids whose families live in the Valley. He's been a resident of House District 25 since, for 62 years. Graduated from Palmer High School, been in business, done the AIP thing, worked for the Alaska Independence Party, been part of a variety of campaigns, including Governor Dunleavy's, and he's here with us today to talk about his run for State House. It sounds, it's a full bag of stuff. Let's bring Larry on board here and get a chance to chat with him this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hunky-dory. How about yourself?
You know, there is no complaining because nobody listens anyway, so it just doesn't matter.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I know, really. I start to, and then they're like, just shut your pie hole. Okay, fine. Well, Larry, let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, you got quite the resume here, and there's a lot of different stuff. I was going to ask you, as I ask many different candidates, you know, when exactly did you lose your mind and decide to run for office? But I see that was actually many years ago. So I guess first let's start with just a little bit of who you are, where you came from. I gave just a brief thumbnail. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my parents brought their family up in January of 1954, which, interestingly enough, my wife was born in February of 1954 in Palmer. My grandparents were already here on my father's side for Eklutna. My dad worked on that for a year, and then he went to Coppin with the territory. And the state, after Alaska became state. And then we came back to Palmer, grew up in Palmer, basically. I graduated from Palmer High School in 1970. Did some courses in UAA, managed to make a whole 49 credit hours over the years, and decided a guy who's partially colorblind and isn't going to be a geologist or a mining engineer. We were involved with mining. I was also working for Anchorage Telephone Utility as a switchman, and I did telephony for about 18 years, and then worked the family business in the off hours, so I had some very long days during those years. And we built our own jig plants. We built soil remediation equipment. I've worked in Canada, worked in Iowa, Hawaii, and Hawaii was nice because that was about 5 winters of going someplace nice and warm.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
And I've done business in Japan and Korea. So I understand the art of negotiation. I understand contracts, intellectual property, and a bunch of other stuff. And mining in Alaska, big issue was access, still is. NILCA is probably the bane of this state's growth potential because they took away the rights of way across federal lands. And they also restricted federal lands that were supposed to be managed by the state for the state to use for resource development to pay for infrastructure development. It's the reason we don't have any roads out in the middle of nowhere now. Yet, I should say, why our villages aren't connected by a surface transportation infrastructure.
Larry, are you talking in part about some of the RS-2477 right-of-way stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And the bad thing about ANELCA was it also isolated the RNCs from their lands and village corporations from their lands, and there's still land swaps going on today, usually in favor of the feds, so they can get rights of way to access their properties that they're supposed to have to make a buck off of. So, but the big deal, that's one thing. The big deal with me is education, because of my wife's background and the fact that I grew up here, was educated here. I think I'm literate, but I'm not too sure about what's happening in Anchorage and some other schools in the bush. Education is an absolute failure. We're 47th overall. Fourth grade is a dismal failure in terms of literacy, reading and writing. We're less than 50th. So what changes every year with the legislature in terms of education? All they do is throw money at it. And they do not try to get any accountability for the money. The big problem is federal funding. That's where Common Core comes from. That's where CRT comes from. That's where the LGBTQ program comes from. That's the 900-pound gorilla standing behind NEA's unions up here. And we need to get the union out of the classroom. We need to get rid of the federal funding, because years ago, I had the opportunity to talk to Carol Como, and I had just read an article about the regulatory overhead that the federal funding brought into a school district, into the classroom.
Right.
Federal funding is 66%, brings 66% of the regulatory overhead. And that money does not produce or hire one teacher for a classroom. Those teachers go into administration to do nothing but they're a grant printing office, basically.
Right. Grant writers.
For more money.
Right, you're right.
So there isn't a school district in Alaska that needs this money. All it's used for is to pump up the bottom line for the superintendent to eventually move on to a bigger school district and get more money. And we're left holding the bag of what didn't happen, which was literacy. So education has only one mission, and that is literacy. All these social programs need to go. All of the commie crap needs to go. I mean, it's ridiculous. My wife was a Christian conservative in Anchorage School District for 24 years when this kind of thing was starting. And she didn't compromise her values. She was one of the very few who did not, but it wasn't easy either. And the union was always on her butt because of what she said,
right,
which wasn't politically correct. So,
well, let's give us a little bit here. I want to dive into a couple. What I found interesting more about your bio too was where you kind of your journey, where you came from. You said in what you sent me here that you started out as a Democrat in 1970. You started out as a Democrat, and then you slowly transitioned over the course of a handful of years to the Alaska Independence Party. You ran for office then about 20 years ago, and then you slowly switched back over to, I guess, the Republican Party in 2002. Tell me a bit about that journey. I'm curious as to how that journey transpired.
Okay, my parents, like a lot of people in the Valley at the time, were Democrats, but they were Southwestern Democrats, which meant socially moderate, fiscally conservative, and literally red, white, and blue. My father was a Marine in World War II, and he went to China after, did Korea, and then did the cop thing. And he was also a guy that flew a lot. My mother supported him 150%. So back then, the Democrat Party was the little guy, the small businessman, and the blue-collar worker. We were small business. So we got along with the Democrats. Everything was fine until Jimmy Carter came along. And that's when the nut job showed up. That's when all of a sudden it was, we're owed. And I will never forget the little dolly that was about an axe handle tall and about 3 wide, sticking her hand in my face at the state convention in Fairbanks and telling me they owe us. And I'm standing there looking at her, asking, what do you mean? Owe us what? They owe us. And if you don't like it, she pointed across the street where the Republican convention was happening at the same time and said, you need to go over there. Well, when the state convention was over, that's pretty much what we did, only I went AIP. Because that's where, as it turned out, I thought the real conservatives were. And found out that AIP was something a little different. There was a lot of conspiracy theory, the UN vote and all of this malarkey. So we decided, my father, myself, my wife, we decided we were going to change it into a states' right party, and we worked 6 years to do exactly that. We got the vote in March 2002. We actually did it. All of the garbage went away. And then the next morning, the executive committee overrode it. So that was enough for me. I ran, and running under AIP was interesting. My father kept getting asked, why is he doing this? He's running for the wrong party. If he ran as a Republican or even a Democrat, we'd vote for him. And because Joe Vogler wasn't exactly a popular guy, all right? And nobody liked the UN vote thing. That was something that really stuck in people's craw about that party. So we thought we could take it and make it a states' rights party and focus on Alaska's issues because our issues kind of got lost.
Right.
And since AIP wasn't going to happen, I registered Republican and started going to the caucuses and to the state conventions, and that's where I've been ever since. I've gone when I could go. I've been to motorcycle in 1994, which leaves the left side bit weak, and then I got rear-ended in 2002, which screwed up my lower back, and then again in 2014, and that split a disc in my neck. So since 2002, things haven't been terribly pleasant and fairly limiting. And then last year, I decided, screw it. If this thing in my neck is supposed to kill me, then we'll see if it's going to happen. So I decided I was going hunting that year. I built a 350 Legend on an AR-15 platform and went with my sons, had a great time, beat the crap out of myself on a four-wheeler, and I came back. Didn't get a moose, but I came back. So I decided, all right, so much for orthopedics. And looking at what's happening, the same things. We send the same people back year after year, and nothing happens.
Right.
Nothing's changing. The incumbent on this side of the river is not what I feel is a conservative. Her voting record says otherwise. She's also been, her peers don't have that much confidence in her. That's what the best way I can put it there. And I want to go fight. I want to get face to face with the baby killers and the perversion lovers and get in their face. I'm not going to be nice. I'm not running for re-election.
Right.
The guy who's going to take this district is already chosen. People are going to like him, but right now he has a commitment with the school board, so he can't cut loose early enough. So I thought I would, if I do nothing else, I'm going to cause an ulcer on the part of the incumbent, and maybe, if worse comes to worse and I don't make it, she will hang a little further to the right this time and actually be contributory.
Okay. Hold the line here. Larry Wood is our guest, GOP state rep for the new House District 25, which is up in the Palmer area, currently held by Delana Johnson. We're going to talk with him a little bit about some of the specifics. We'll get back into the education question and more here in just a hot second. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue with Larry Wood in just a moment. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Back with more and Larry Wood right after these messages.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
All right, we're in the break right now. Larry Wood is our guest. Larry, we're going to get into some of the specifics here in the next segment, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Joe Vogler, I'm from Fairbanks originally, and so Joe Vogler is almost part of the fabric of the conservative community up there quite a bit. That was a very interesting time. Very interesting times for sure there in the late 90s. In fact, this show got started in the late 90s there, and I had an opportunity to talk with a lot of people involved in that movement, and definitely an interesting crew with the AIP. I loved a lot of what they stood for, but it did get a little bit into the weeds sometimes.
Well, same here. And we actually met Vogler at mining shows starting in the late 70s. We'd always talk to him and his wife whenever we saw them out there. Mm-hmm. And, he kind of a crusty guy, but still personable individual and typical Alaska miner. So one had to appreciate where he came from on some of the issues. But as far as the UN vote and the like, that was way out in left field. It really rankled me for a lot of years, for the time I was with the party, and the goal was to get rid of that, because that's what stopped more people from coming over to AIP. And we had a lot of good minds. I was pleased to have the opportunity, and I ran to give the party legitimacy, because the party has to have a candidate. And a couple of times I was the only candidate. So I did it to do it for the party, if you will, but also the way I am is to learn about the enemy. And I recognized very quickly after the first campaign that, one, golly gee whiz, this is actually kind of fun, but it was different in those days. It's not the money mill it is today. And it's after COVID, we don't have the venues, the forums that we had back then. I mean, there was always probably 6 or 7 forums that you went to where you had the opportunity to speak publicly, and people could see the difference between you and your competitor or competitors. So after the second run, I realized we're not going to bust the Republicans. So do it one more time, and that's what I did. And then we had the convention in Palmer that year, and like I said, we got rid of the garbage. And my family went home very pleased with ourselves because a major hurdle had been overcome.
Right.
And then the next morning, it was, guess what?
Yeah. Sorry, the will of the people of the party were overturned by the executive committee. Have a nice day.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So basically, they were told they could have a nice day too. I was done with it.
Yeah.
So was my wife. She was the secretary, and I was vice chair.
Interesting stuff to see. That inter-party politics sometimes is very. I've seen that lately with the Libertarians. Same kind of thing's been going on with the whole Mises caucus inside the Libertarians. It's been a very interesting thing to watch, that's for sure. Larry Wood is our guest, GOP candidate for House District 25, coming out of Palmer. We're about a minute and a half out here from returning to the radio, and we're going to get into some specifics. We're going to talk a little bit more about education. We're going to talk about the budget, the PFD, the Constitution, the CON-CON, and everything else with Larry Wood. We'll get his take on it and see where he's at on it, and get some insight there from him. Folks, don't forget to like and share the show this morning. It's more important than ever now because we're not on Facebook for some reason, because Facebook is stupid. But we're going to we're here on YouTube, so make sure that you you subscribe and ring the bell. You hit the subscribe button, and then you ring the little bell there to get notifications. So if we have this same problem tomorrow or the next day or next week where we can't simulcast on both Facebook and YouTube, that you at least get the notification. Excuse me. All right. Let's see where we're at right now. Coming up, we're 30 seconds out from rejoining the radio, so we'll be right back to it here in a hot second. Again, make sure that you like and share, and check out Larry. I noticed that your website is not working, Larry, so most people just need to go over to your Facebook page, right? That's the best place?
They can try that. I should have the website up today or tomorrow,
okay,
for sure.
All right.
Life has gotten in the way is about all I can say.
I hear you. It's a busy time. All right, let's jump back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Okay, continuing now, Larry Wood, GOP candidate for State House, District 25 out of Palmer, is our guest. We just got a complete backstory talking with Larry about everything, where he came from and all that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the details. Now, Larry, you said obviously education is a big component because of your wife and her history and, being part of the school districts and things for so long. And we're going to get to that here in a second, but let's hit on some of the big hot button issues that are facing a lot of Alaskans. First and foremost is the size and scope of the budget. If you were going to rate the candidates or rate the legislators for where they're at right now, where would you put the candidates or the legislature as far as the score, if you're grading them A to F kind of thing on the budget over the last handful of years? Where would you, are we just right? We right-sized? We too much? We too little? Where are we at?
About an F minus.
F minus, okay. That's a pretty much.
Yeah, they just don't. If the money's there, they're going to spend it.
Yeah.
I've been watching this for virtually since I was 18, and it doesn't matter who the governor is. It doesn't matter who the legislature is comprised of. They do the same thing. I was with Sarah Palin's campaign. Sarah, one of the major complaints was Frank Murkowski's budget. Right. And then what did Sarah do the second she got sworn in? She spent like a drunken sailor. And it's gone downhill ever since. She's the one that really set the tenor. If the money's there, spend all of it. The problem is we're not spending it on infrastructure. We're not spending it on things that can be used to support business.
Right.
And get access to our resources and the like. It makes no sense. It seems that the legislature completely overlooks that aspect. Why don't we have the roads? And we pulled track on the Alaska Railroad. We used to have a track that went to Sutton. That's the reason we don't have a coal mine right now. And that coal mine would be 40 jobs, year-round, good-paying jobs. And a mine, it was supposed to have a mine mouth power plant, which would have lowered our electric cost in this valley tremendously.
Right.
But the Greenies decided, the three Greenies on MEA's board, convinced the rest of them that, this is a bad thing. We're going to build this Finnish engine, diesel over gas, or gas over diesel, natural gas over diesel abomination, and we're just going to that dirty coal mine. We're just not going to do that. When most of the coal was going to go out of state, and it's a high-grade bituminous. It's almost anthracite.
Yeah.
So low sulfur. It's insane. So we bid that's one of the deals where we chopped off our nose despite our face so that some people could feel good about themselves. We have the most, having been in mining, we have the most restrictive mining laws in the world here. It's not a joke. There is no way in Hades that what these people complained about could happen. This isn't the 40s, for heaven's sake.
Right, right.
And we pay people to oversee these operations in government. Apparently, they don't trust them. The Greenies, the folks that complained, why they know better than the regulators. So here we
sit, right? No infrastructure, no anything else. I mean, so obviously the size and scope of government needs to be cut back in your estimation. And of course,
absolutely.
Education, as we said earlier, is a big component of that. Health and social services. One of the big sticking points, of course, for most people is the PFD. What's your position on the PFD? Should we be paying a full statutory PFD? Should we be paying back what has been held back so far? Should it be enshrined in the Constitution? What do you say?
I remember when it was a Republican Party trying to get rid of the PFD in the 80s after the pipeline was completed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I believe is the PFD should be paid by the current statutory formula. It works just fine. Everybody forgets that the PFD, or the permanent fund, the split is not revenue for the state until the state gets it split and it goes into the general fund.
Right.
So until that point, it's not the state's money, and we're supposed to get 50%, which comes out of which becomes our PFD. So yeah, we're owed money. What Walker took should be repaid with interest, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
If it's fully repaid, then the legislature has standing, if you will, to look the people of the state of Alaska and say, we can't do this, we're going to kill it. I mean, at least they would have a basis to do that, because they could say, well, we paid you everything, but we've got this big wall here. Unfortunately, the price of oil's gone through the roof, so they can't say that.
Right, because they got all the money in the world. So,
yeah. And it's what they're spending it on that's the insane thing. So bottom line comes down to this. The PFD is the greatest stimulus to the economy in the state of Alaska. The trickle-down idea that they have of taking this money and putting it into services and what have you, and trickling it down through government, we all know that doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, good grief. How many billions have we squandered and still squandering? There's no accountability for the money. There's nothing. All we do is bloat government and make a bunch of people or give a bunch of people a really nice retirement so they can go retire outside somewhere and pat themselves on the back about how they screwed Alaska and Alaska.
Right. Well, should we be, I guess my bigger question too, I mean, again, post-statutory PFD and payback and everything, should it be enshrined in the Constitution so the legislature
Absolutely.
can't ignore it?
Yes, absolutely. I'm one who now is firmly convinced if we need to have a constitutional convention, there's a lot of issues that need to be cleaned up. We need to elect an attorney general. The 2020 election, we saw the governor file suit. We saw the attorney general make a run at the Supreme Court. We saw the Supreme Court slap the governor down when neither one of the executive nor the judicial had a darn thing to do with that election. That was the legislature's purview.
Right.
Not the governor's, not the Supreme Court, not the state Supreme Courts.
Right.
And the legislature, this is another reason I'm running, the legislature seems to abrogate its authority, responsibilities, duties on a fairly regular basis. It did this during COVID and just dumped it in the governor's lap and ran for the hills.
Right.
Well, that 30-day review of any emergency declaration by the legislature and their vote of affirmation to continue it is our voice. And they took our voice completely out of it. Governor Dunleavy was the fourth most restrictive governor in terms of mandates during the COVID response in the United States. We had the fourth most restrictive. That is absolutely abhorrent to me, and it absolutely makes me very angry because I believed in that guy. I supported him, and I am not happy. People died.
Yeah.
We couldn't even get the drugs we needed.
Larry Wood. Larry, coming up at the end of the hour, and I haven't gotten to education. Can you hold over with me here for a little bit over the top of the hour for 5-10 minutes afterwards?
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick break because I still want to get to the education component because I think that's important, especially from the perspective of somebody who his family who is involved in that and everything. So we're going to continue here in just a moment with Larry Wood. We'll take him over the top of the hour and take him into the first segment there. We'll get the rest of what he has to say. We'll get his elevator pitch at the end. And we will continue. Then, of course, we've got the good news coming up. That's our good news segment in the next hour. And we'll also open up the phone lines to your phone calls as well. Larry Wood, our guest. The Michael Duke Show will continue here in just a moment. If you've got to go for the day, go to work or whatever, live well. Be kind to one another. And just love one another. We'll be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. You know, Larry, you talk about being disappointed, and I have to laugh because your resume in a lot of ways matches mine when it comes to, following along with candidates. I mean, you were part of the Palin campaign. I supported Sarah Palin. You were part of the Walker campaigns in both 2010 and 2014. I was one of the honorary co-chairs of the Walker campaign in 2010. And then in 2014, I was with him right up to the point to where he split the sheets and got in bed with Vince Beltrami. And I was supporting Dunleavy. I feel like I just keep getting disappointed. I mean, how many times we have to get our hands slapped before we realize we're backing the wrong people at some point?
Well, that's a big question. Something happens to these guys the second they're sworn in. All of a sudden, the door slams on those who supported them, and they become somebody else. Mike Dunleavy had a really good pitch, a really good plan, cut the budget. He hired Donna Ardoon. She did the hard work. She was the lightning rod. What did he do? Fired her. And then he started giving everything back. And it just went downhill. The stand tall thing didn't happen.
Right.
And he and I talked about that in December, before the campaign really started. And I asked him at the time, he asked me actually, he said, what do you think happens? Why do you think people change? I said, I don't know what happens. I've never been in that position, but I do know this. The second you're sworn in, buddy, you're going to change.
Yeah.
So this is the reason why at the campaigns, campaign events, he would always say, if I am not if you have reason to believe that I'm not the guy you elected, then you let me know. Well, after he gave the money back or kowtowed on the Marine Highway System, kowtowed to the university after the university admitted they could cut their budget by 35%. They did their own internal study and realized that the allegations of duplication of management on every campus in every department were true. So they said, yeah, we can do this for at least a year, and then we'll look at it longer. Well, they could do it system-wide without any problem. And what did he do? He gave the money back.
Right.
And then he fires Ardoon to boot. And then when we had the special session up here, instead of sending the troopers in and grabbing Giesel and Edgman by the collar and dragging their butts up or throwing them in jail, he ignored it. And finally it got to be a standoff that wasn't producing anything. So myself and others said, put the ball back in their court, give them what they want, let it happen down there.
Right.
If they don't do anything, you made your point. At least you don't look like the fool. Well, he did that, and then he didn't follow through. He never used the bully pulpit.
No, and he rolled over and wet on himself on a couple things where he had the opportunity to stand tall, to call them into, force the issue, to do what needed to be done. As you talk about with the university, he blinked. And again, the firing of Donna Arduin is, to me, one of the most critical failures of his governorship. Because he had the opportunity with her there. She was willing to take the slings and arrows. Yep. She was willing to be the lightning rod. She'd done it before. She'll do it again. She was willing to be the bad guy. And yet he let the people around him talk him into, and not just firing her, but the way that it was done, via text message and everything else. There is no standing tall in any part of that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed, man. It was so disappointing. It was incredible because been through this with Palin, with Walker. Walker's second campaign, he didn't tell the campaign, by the way, that he made the deal with Malott. And Malott was dead in the water as of November 2013 when Disa Jacobson published her opinion piece. It was published in ADN and up north. And she said that if Malott was elected, he would set back sexual abuse progress in this state by 50 years. She excoriated him to the Native community, to the rest of the public. He was gone. He was done. Parnell, he shot himself in the foot by failing to be a leader. And who is Dunleavy surrounded himself with now?
The same group of cats, you mean? The same business as usual crowd? Yeah. That's
right. I told him back in December, I said, you cannot become a Parnell Light.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what he is. That's what we have. And the ivermectin thing shows it.
Yeah.
Florida governor says, several other governors have said, you will have access. In Alaska, our governor doesn't have the balls, and on top of that, who was his chief medical officer on this? Ann Zink, who, as it turns out, is somebody who believes in population control. So every death to her was just a positive.
She's. I hadn't heard.
That's what she said, or that's what she believes. So her grandfather, she's an acolyte, and she made no bones about it, the Watchman interview. So anyway, Alaska's got a lot of problems. The biggest problem sits in that legislature. Part of what I want to do is to be able to go down. I used to write a lot before COVID.
Yeah. Well, hold the line, Larry. We're coming back into it. We gotta jump back on board here. We're going to come back into hour two. We'll change gears a little bit. Back with more of the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Here we go.
Buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Across the world on the interwebs at MichaelDukesShow.com, where you'll find the audio-only live stream and, of course, links to all our social media. Broadcasting on Facebook, Twitch, usually on YouTube, or YouTube and Twitch, usually on Facebook as well. Not today, though. And, of course, across radio stations across the whole state, and FM translators everywhere as well. We are continuing here this morning just a little bit. We were going to finish up with candidate Larry Wood, who's the GOP candidate for House District 25 in the last hour, but we got just too much information. We're just too much conversation here, and I wanted to finish up with Larry, so he agreed kindly to hang over into this next segment, and we will we're gonna talk a little bit about just a couple more things with this. Larry Wood joins us this morning. Again, if you missed it, you can go back and listen to the rest of it on the podcast or on the replay or whatever. Larry, you started off with education because your wife obviously was in the school system for over 25 years, was part of it. You've seen it. Education is our second largest expense line in state government, yet we continue to have the lowest scholastic achievement in the nation. The answer seems to continuously be, well, what we really need is more money. What we really need is more money to fix it, and if we just had more money, we'd be better. Well, we've thrown ever-increasing amounts of money at education, and it seems to continually be sucked up in the overhead, in the administration, in the facilities, and everything else, and that money doesn't seem to be translating down into the classroom, and it doesn't seem to be actually educating our kids. And so what is your solution for education? I mean, what is the answer to fixing what's fundamentally broken in schools? Is it, school choice? Is it vouchers? Is it backpack funding? Is it the dual enrollment that we had the folks from Alaska Policy Forum on talking about here a couple of weeks ago? What is the solution to fixing the education problem in the state of Alaska?
It's fairly simple, but for some reason our legislators don't like to go there. One is school choice. My kids have been homeschooled, private school, and public school, so we did all three. But the big deal is the DOED funding is the 900-pound gorilla. It drives NEA to do their crazy stuff. They are the LGBTQ agenda that's so extreme. The transgender thing, the whole 9 yards. And to get rid of that is simple contract law. The Supreme Court said a long time ago, you don't take the money, you don't have to take the conditions either. So if you take the money, then you take the strings that come with it, vis-a-vis, Common Core, the whole 9 yards, all the failures. All right? We need to put this back to local control. It should be the parents who determine how their kids are educated, not the state, not the federal government. Get the union out of the classroom, put it back to wages, benefits, and working conditions only. Get their PACs out of the game in terms of influencing legislators, elected officials, because, and I think that's viable, it would not be unconstitutional, because the individual member has a right to vote. They can make their own choice. And if you've ever noticed with unions, the union management is usually pretty liberal. They back Democrats, but the union rank and file are something else. at least in IBEW, the construction trades and the like, those guys belong to a union because it's a closed shop. We need a right to work law too, and I'm retired IBEW. The unions have just gotten into government, and they feed, and and education is a sacred cow. So anything NEA says, the state does. Very conservative people all of a sudden become very complacent and very compliant to NEA's demands because you've got to give the money for the kids. You've got to give the money for the kids. And yet these are the same people who are also advocating Planned Parenthood in high schools, having offices in high schools.
Right.
And promote abortion and perversion and on and on. That has nothing to do with whether or not Junior is going to be able to read and write, and when that individual graduates, is going to have the basic tools needed for an employer. I was an employer. I didn't hire illiterate people. They had to be able to understand what we did, how to use the tools, and be able to use the tools without harming themselves. So we need to go back to basics. We need to go back to education and get rid of the social programs. And the only way we can do that is get the DOED out. Had Gingrich's block grants without strings attached actually worked out when he was Speaker of the House, we wouldn't be where we're at today. This is all they have destroyed a good education system, the Democrats have, and it's all part and parcel to destroying this country. You have to destroy the family, you have to devalue the people, and you have to devalue and destroy their traditions, their culture, their laws. Take everything away so they become subject to the state. That's what this globalization malarkey is all about. I mean, it's right out of Marx 101. And yet we ignore it. Our schools are being used. Look what's happening in Anchorage.
Do you think that one of the comments and things that we've talked about here on the program for quite a while is the breaking down the BSA, breaking down the formulas, the things that have automatic escalators built into them, which has been a very tough sell, been a very tough fight anytime it's been brought up. Because it's such a sacred cow to the unions and everything else. But is that key in your mind to breaking open those formulas so that they have to justify every increase as they go forward?
Well, the bottom line is, like I said, if you get rid of if they stop taking the federal money, the Department of Education, Federal Department of Education funding, all of that, like I said, 66% of the regulatory overhead in the classroom, it all goes away. It becomes a local issue then, and our school boards can then set the curriculum and the agenda according to the way the parents need to do it.
Right.
If you get rid of the federal money, all of what you're talking about is moot.
Well,
we don't have that oversight anymore, or overhead anymore.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. That's the problem with government. It's always got that hook in it. We'll give you the free money, but you've got to toe the line on this, this, and this. All that free money, quote unquote, has always got some kind of hook in it to create a regulatory scheme or anything else. But it's not just in K-12. You mentioned earlier the governor's attempt to cut into the University of Alaska. And, I mean, look, we've actually got two similarities here. Just like the university has got 3 separate campuses, 3 separate divisions, all overseen by another separate leadership division. We got this duplication of effort. We're seeing the same thing in the public schools with, over 50 separate school districts, all with the same structure and overhead and administration and duplication. I mean, we could streamline the hell out of a lot of that stuff, but people have got to be willing to do it. And of course, nobody wants to do it because all they can think about is all those jobs that would be lost. Think about all the money that could be saved. Think about the money that could be spent on kids' education instead of infrastructure, school infrastructure, teachers, administrators' pay, all the other kind of stuff.
Wouldn't that be too bad, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
education, people actually learning something. The university, one thing that needs to be done is the student funding. Student loans need to be revamped so that that money can only be used for core courses. No more of the woke stuff. If it doesn't apply directly to that major or that minor, then none of the elective stuff gets paid for, so it can't come in. That'll starve the communists out. Eventually, the university will have to conform. Or if you want to be really extreme, cut student funding altogether, Stafford student loans, the whole 9 yards. And like I said, that starves the entrenched bureaucracy, the folks that are really doing the damage to the education system out. It forces the university to compete for everybody they get, just like they used to have to before student Stafford loan, the GI Bill, and state loan programs. There was a time when none of this existed,
right,
and our universities did just fine.
Right. Well, again,
so it's easy money. Why do our medical costs rise? Because of the insurance. Easy money.
Sure.
You know, who's paying the bill?
Well, it's
We're not paying the bill anymore.
Government intervention in everything. I mean, if you want to look at education, the universities in this country really started to have some severe problems when they started accepting all that federal money, and that's when you saw the cost of that education skyrocket when they started getting all that free money. Same thing in healthcare. Same thing in public schools, K-12. I mean, we're seeing all that across the state. This is that's a prime example. Larry, we're down to the last couple minutes here of this segment. I want to let you go, but I want to give you a chance to give us your elevator pitch. You're running for House District 25 against the incumbent Delana Johnson. You're trying to make a difference here. You're trying to wake people up. You want to give them a more conservative choice. Give us the full elevator pitch here. You got a couple 3 minutes to tell people why they should vote for Larry Woods versus anybody else, and what you're planning on doing when you get there.
Okay, I support SB 140. No males in female sports. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Males 35% greater muscle mass, 20% greater lung capacity, and the World Rugby Association has barred males from competing with females. And I'm talking the quote-unquote transgenders. The X chromosome doesn't go away. So we need to make sure that our schools are safe in that regard, keep the boys out of the girls' locker room and out of the girls' showers, and bar treatments for transgender, for minors. The physical harm is too great. The kids don't understand, the adolescents. When they turn 18, they can screw themselves up all they want, but I don't think the state needs to pay for it because it is elective. Education, again, get rid of the federal funding. It comprises 3 to 8% of the budget, doesn't put a teacher in the classroom. All it does is build bureaucracy that's not needed for education. We need to get back to basics. We've got a real comeuppance coming here in the near future with what's happening with our food production, our economy. The handwriting's on the wall, folks. This isn't something that's going to go away with the next president in 2024. It's going to take a decade to undo, or 2 decades to undo what Biden and company have done. We're in for some hard times. COVID response, we don't want to do this again. Our rights should come first. The legislature went and ran, handed it off to the governor, and did not act as our arbiter in our favor by reviewing the governor's emergency declaration, looking at the studies that were coming out, and making sure that the right things were done, and listening to the doctors on the other side. Early treatment was completely ignored. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, which was in use around the world to great benefit. Why here, for some reason, we couldn't use it because it was too cotton picking cheap. Fauci lied, people died. Simple as that. And We don't need this anymore. We have rights. This isn't the Soviet Union. Constitution comes first. Constitution is supreme law of this land. And I am a Second Amendment proponent. I carry every day. And I've also gotten into building my own rifles, which is kind of cool. So,
all right, Larry, where do folks find out? I mean, I'm all down with that. Where do folks find out about you, Larry?
Okay, the website's not quite up yet, but it will be up the next day or two. WoodHD25.com. Otherwise, Facebook, WoodHD25, and look at the state's website, the election website where the candidate information is. That gives my telephone, my email, and also the website and so on and so forth. So it will all be there.
All right, Larry.
All I can say is vote. Whatever you do, just vote.
Whatever you do, go out there and vote. Larry Wood, our guest, candidate for House District 25 in Palmer. Larry, thank you for coming on board this morning and joining us. We appreciate you being part of it.
Appreciate it, Michael.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on board. That takes us right up to the commercial break. And we're going to continue. Coming up next, the good news. The good news is up next. And we'll open up the phone lines to take your call, see what you have to say. The Michael Duke Show continues in just a moment right here. Your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
All right, we're in the break right now. Just finished up. Larry is done for this morning. Survey master section primarily for the second director with zero. Okay. All right. Just checking out all the messages. Okay. What's the phone number? Says Miss Sled Dog. The phone number for the show? Is that what you're asking? Are you looking for Larry's phone number or my phone number? Because my phone number is right there. See? It's right there. Right over there. All right. Facebook on the fritz again? Yes. Facebook can suck it. Facebook, I don't know. I tried to restart it. I don't even know how many times this morning I tried to restart Facebook. Somebody can. I'm sure. I tried to start it at least 3 or 4 times this morning, and it finally popped up here. What is this? Let's see. See how many times did I do it? It looks like 4 times. Four times. Just it is so frustrating. Facebook definitely being stupid. Facebook can suck it. In fact, I need to go over and I need to delete all these because there's like Tuesday I had like 3, 4, 5, 6 different attempts to get it fixed. That's upcoming live replays. Here we go. 36 seconds. So I got to delete all these ones that are like, 30 seconds, 12 seconds, 25 seconds. Trying to get all those trying to get all those things squared away. 20. Why are all those there? All right. Well, we'll just delete those forever. 6 videos are about to be deleted forever. Yes. Boom. Deleted. All right. So hopefully it's the worst when I get up in there and I got like half a dozen videos trying to get Facebook to start. Well, clearly you flooded the engine if you kept trying to start it. It's very potential. It's very good. Potentially you are correct. I could have just flooded I should have just not put my foot on the accelerator at all. It's fuel injected after all. You should never put your foot on the accelerator when it's fuel injected. All right. Let's we'll continue on here and keep taking. Although I did have to laugh because yesterday I got a notification on the show from Facebook after the show that somewhere in there they think I used copyrighted music and they muted 1 minute and 8 seconds of the show. I'm trying to figure out exactly because I didn't play any music yesterday except for the stuff right out of Facebook's library of royalty-free music that they want you to use when you. All the music that I use on the show has come from royalty-free or paid for, music. And so I don't know what they're talking about. But apparently, 1 minute and 8 seconds of audio they had to mute. So if you go back and watch the show tomorrow, there's a portion of it that might be muted. So I don't. Of course, it won't tell you where. The minute it'll tell you that it's a minute. They're very precise. It's 1 minute and 8 seconds. But of course, they can't be precise enough to tell you where in a 2-hour broadcast this 1 minute and 8 second is. I was just like, okay, all right. Anyway, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Let's get back to it. We will continue the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share, subscribe, and ring the bell. What are we up to, 317 subscribers? I only need 1,000. Oh, Lord, kill me now. All right. Welcome back. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. And we're getting ready to crack it open now in hour 2 with a segment that I like to call The Good News. Have you heard the good news about the good news? Feel like an old-time evangelist. Let me tell you about the good news. This is our segment that we started last week that I kind of had a lot of fun with. I felt really good about it. And it was it's a segment that's not always easy to find stuff for. Although today I got to say I'm blessed with a whole bunch of good stories. This is just stuff that has nothing to do with politics, but it's just something to make you smile, something to make you feel good. About like when you look outside. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one, but sometimes I'll read the news or I'll look on social media and I'll look at myself in the mirror and go, we're doomed. We're doomed as a society. Just, it's just sometimes you just look at it and go, oh, this is just not good. So I decided to start doing this segment simply because I did it last week because I couldn't face some of the other stuff and I wanted. So anyway, here we are. So I should have like a theme song and a whole deal and all this kind of things. But good news. So let's get into it. The name of our store in Fairbanks. So is that Good News Bible and Books? That's the name of the store in Fairbanks. Is that the one you're talking about? Let's talk about the good news. So from all across the world today we start off in England. An English family was left stunned and upset when their dog escaped one day. Peter and Paul Closier became very sick at heart with worry when their 5-year-old Beagle mix vanished on Sunday morning. They called the police, the dog warden, which I'm assuming is like animal control, and looked all over their house in West Sussex. And they had all their neighbors in the neighborhood join in the search for little Bonnie, the Beagle mix. When Peter was searching and he found that the gate had swung open, he thought, oh no. Little did they know that John Wilmer had spotted Bonnie by the side of the road while on his way to a dog show in Surrey, where he was entering his own 2 dogs in that show. I mean, this is crazy. So he said soon after the family's fears were eased, when Paula spotted a Facebook post by John, hoping to locate the pet's owners. He said he was running late for the dog show at the time, so he just picked up the dog and then asked on Facebook, does anyone know this dog? While he was at the competition, he decided to enter Bonnie into it. He said, I thought I might as well enter her into the best rescue dog category. And so lo and behold, when Bonnie was returned to Peter and Paula, Bonnie had a bright yellow ribbon on her chest for winning 3rd place in the best rescue dog category. So not only did they get Bonnie back, they get Bonnie back with a little bit of a fortuitous circumstance. Bright yellow ribbon on her collar, 3rd place as the best rescue dog. Everybody's happy. It is, I mean, that is so crazy. So crazy. All right, the next story on the good news. Again, restoring your faith in humanity and showing that sometimes doing the right thing for no really apparent or wanted gain is still the right thing, and it can pay benefits. A 17-year-old teen in San Diego found a purse in a grocery store parking lot. And although he expected nothing in return, he decided instead of bringing it inside the store, he decided to deliver it himself to the woman's front door. Although the owner, Elena Martin, wasn't there, the purse was left with her roommates, and the home surveillance video was later used to track down the high school graduate to show him some love. Melina said, I looked into the Ring camera and I was like, oh my God, he's such a young kid. We need to find him and give him a little piece of gratitude. She and the woman who lost the purse posted the image on social media and found the young man who had returned the bag, which contained $20 in cash and a wallet full of credit cards. The boy said his name is Adrian Rodriguez. The boy said, my mom always told me since I was little, always do the right thing when nobody's around, when nobody's looking. I didn't expect anything back, honestly. He said, if somebody found my stuff, I'd want them to bring it back to me. But see, the good news doesn't stop here. Elena Marquez organized a GoFundMe campaign as a way for friends and new admirers to reward Adrian's honesty. Almost 800 people sent money into the GoFundMe site, and they gave him a reward of over $17,000 for returning the purse. It actually made the local news in San Diego and everything else. It is just fantastic. Absolutely. You know, again, hope restored. We are not all doomed, as I often fear. Hope is restored in that regard. So, I mean, congratulations to Adrian Rodriguez, who did the right thing, and returned it. I just love that. I just love that. Third story in the good news. Before we're gonna do the good news, and then we're gonna open up the phone call into the next segment. But This is a story, again, back over into Europe, into the Aegean Sea. Strong currents swept a 30-year-old man out to sea when he was on a beach vacation. But just like the Castaway movie, he now has a soccer ball to thank for his survival. The Macedonian man spent 18 hours holding on to the partially deflated leather soccer ball in the Aegean Sea before he was rescued 15 miles away from where he was swept out off the beach. Although a good swimmer, he was growing tired when his luck changed and the rainbow-colored soccer ball came floating towards him. When the news broke out about his real-life Wilson experience, remember that's the Castaway, Wilson the soccer ball, a pair of Greek children reported that the colorful soccer ball had ended up in the seas 10 days earlier when they were playing football on the island of Lemnos, 80 miles away. 80 miles away. Made it all the way. The swimmer was spotted by a Greek Air Force helicopter involved in the search teams that was also looking for his friend. They shared the photo posing with the ball alongside his hospital, outside the hospital in Greece there. But again, they got it. Soccer ball. I'm never letting go of that ball. If that was me, that ball would go up on my shelf forever. This is the soccer ball that saved my life. Just amazing stuff. All right, final story today in the good news category. Are you ready? Nora Langdon is a world champion powerlifter. She holds 19 world records. She has a personal record of 413 pounds in the squats, 381 pounds in the deadlift, and 203 pounds in the bench press. The most inspiring part about this is that she's 78 years old. I mean, and the thing is, she didn't even start powerlifting until she was 65 and too out of shape to walk up the stairs in the houses she was selling as part of a 35-year real estate career. She, celebrating a birthday, a friend introduced her to Art Little, a personal trainer at the Royal Oak Gym in Michigan. She came to watch a powerlifting meet and asked Art if she could do the same eventually. He was, hesitant because she was 65, but started her off with the basics. Now, she estimates she has 20 to 25 medals in her trophy room. She's competed in 25 sanctioned meets and won 23 of them. She is the most decorated powerlifter in her weight class. She competes in powerlifting 3 times a year, the States, the Nationals, and the Worlds. And she actually has a GoFundMe campaign to help her finance her ongoing career in powerlifting at the age of 78. 78 years old. And this chick she can squat more than you can. I mean, this is some insane stuff. She's a national champion. Oh, this is some good stuff. I'll post the link up to this story from the Good News Network up in the chat room. This is inspiring. Absolutely inspiring. You could do it, man. 78 years old, world champion powerlifter. Got started when she was 65. And, she's not going to be doing scary. All right. She's the granny powerlifter. Granny powerlifter. All right. So that, my friends, is the good news today. That's just good news. I love that. Actually got a little tear in my eye. I was laughing. Feels good, don't it? All right, let's open up the phone lines. Final segment of the show this morning is over on the call-in lines, 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. This hour of the program being brought to you by our friends over there at Satellite West. You can find out more about them at satellitewest.com. Big thank you to them for sponsoring the program. We will continue with more common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio, and your phone calls up next on The Michael Duke Show.
What's that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show. Radio.
Okay, we are in the break. 400 squats. She does 400 squats and holds 19 world records. I mean, dang, sister, you get it. You get it. Whew. Some crazy stuff. But you got to love it. Got to love it. Yeah, I found the Good News Network. They've got a lot of great stories over there. Good stuff. Well, anyway, we might expand the good news to a couple times a week. This was so much fun. I was enjoying this. What else? What else we got here? All right. I guess we got one phone call on hold. So we'll go over there. By the way, Larry said that you could find the information about him on the state website. Here's the link to the state website where it's got all the candidate informations, including their emails, their phone numbers, and their websites. That's the full list of candidates for the primary right there. So if you haven't followed that, that's a great place to go. To get all the information. If you want to call a candidate or email them questions or whatever, that's the best place to go right there. I just dropped that link to you right there. So go, enjoy, fly, be free, do your thing, do what you're going to do with it. Close that window, I don't need Facebook because who needs Facebook? Let's go over here and see who's on the phone that we can get back to here when we come back to the radio. Good morning, who's this? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Kay. I'm calling from the Sterling Soldotna area.
Okay, Kay. Will you please hold the line, and I will be back to you here in just a hot moment. You will be first up in the queue. And let me just say this is Kay from Sterling. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be back to Kay here in the beginning. We'll do that. Had an aunt who won a gold medal at the World Senior Games in table tennis at age 85. She quit because they were bringing ringers, 65-year-olds. Ringers. Oh man, that is so. 78 years old. I'm still just shaking my head. 78 years old, just doing her thing. Oof. Dang. 400 squats. Yeah, you're definitely be wearing a T-shirt that says "My grandma can squat more than you can." I mean, that would be the that would be my next thing. Oh, that is that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. All right. What else we got going on here this morning? Just double checking to see if there's anything else coming in, any emails coming in over the electronic transom here that I need to know about for the show. And we are good to we are good to go. All right. Let's where are we at? Okay, 2 minutes. Sorry. I got so jacked about the good news, I didn't even know what to say. All right, record rainfall, blah, 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 blah. Good news. Record-setting harvest for Bristol Bay salmon. That was one of the stories this morning that I didn't get to. They are up almost 6 million. So far this summer, the Department of Fish and Game has counted 73.7 million salmon, which shattered the record from last year of 67.7 million salmon. The current harvest for Bristol Bay stands at 56 million, which eclipses the 44 million in 1995. Meanwhile, up in the Yukon, they had to have 13,000 pounds of fish delivered and donated because they've closed the river up there. It's just crazy stuff. Anyway, good news on some fronts. Back. All right, a minute of 45. We are almost ready to go. Please like and share this video. Like and follow the show page. Make sure that you ring the bell. Hit subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. 317 subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, I'm trying to get to 1,000, you know? I know I was complaining about, and I don't mean to complain, but it's a little frustrating. I've got 3,500 plus followers on Facebook, and I can't get 1,000 of them to go over and like the YouTube channel as well. I mean, I'm seriously considering moving exclusively to YouTube because Facebook is so problematic. I really am. The Facebook, I have to struggle with it every day, trying to get it started. It's very rarely that it takes on the first time, and I'm really frustrated by it. So, all right, well, if you would subscribe and ring the bell, that would be appreciative. All right, we got Kay on the line. We're going to jump into this, the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like a chair, obey. Here we go. All right. Welcome back to the program. One final segment. This hour of the show being brought to you by our friends at Satellite West. You can find them at satellitewest.com for all of your communications needs, whether it's the Pivotel phone or the Bivy stick or some kind of VHF or radio communication. Satellite West handles it all. Check them out again at satellitewest.com. All right, let's go over to the telephony. Kay is calling in this morning from Sterling, and we will see what she has to say this morning as we get things kicked off with your calls. Good morning, Kay. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Michael. Hey, I just wanted to make sure, I haven't listened to you in a while, that people realize what Dunleavy did when he signed Bill 145 with the pharmacist. He signed away doctors' rights to prescribe the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine to their patients and let pharmacists override them. Back in about February or March of 2020, I called Fred Myers. I was living in Anchorage, and I called Fred Myers, and I asked him if they were filling prescriptions for ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine for COVID, and they said, yes, but we haven't had any calls for it. It was just getting underway, but I heard that some states were blocking it. And so I'm not sure how far down the road, but I do know that by November of that year, I moved out here by Sterling, and I called every pharmacy out here, and none of them would fill a prescription for either one of those therapeutics. So there was a big blocking going on. Well, you know, it fired me up. I was so angry that I wrote every news show, not everyone, but a lot of them that I watch, and one of them that I wrote to was Steve Bannon. And lo and behold, the following week, about 4 days later, he had Dr. Robert Malone on his show, and they were talking about this very subject. And lo and behold, I can't remember if he stated it on that show, but it was shortly afterwards. They announced that they were coming to Anchorage for the summit, you know, the big summit. We had one doctor that they put up there on the stage who was pushing the therapeutics, and so a bunch of doctors showed up. I mean, Dr. Cole, tons of them.
I remember.
Even the little Chinese girl, you know, that came over here, she was on there. You know, it was a big deal. But Dunleavy just signed away our rights to get. I haven't called the pharmacies lately. You can call them. Just call them up and ask them, are you filling prescriptions, you know, for ivermectin or HCQ for COVID yet? And I'll bet you they're still saying no. So he just gave them the rights. He just legally. I wrote Dunleavy many times about this. He has so much blood on his hands. I can't even believe it. You know how many people died because they couldn't get those therapeutics? And tell me, did Dr. Fauci take remdesivir when he came down with COVID over and over after all his vaccinations, supposedly? I'm sure he didn't. We know it's a killer drug.
Right. Well,
I'm so angry at Dunleavy.
Yeah, well,
and Trump should have never ever supported him when he was here. That angered me so bad. I need to write him.
I know that there is. I know that there's a doctor down there. It's a physician's assistant or a doctor. I can't remember. Anyway, she's got a clinic where she has been using a variety of therapies to help treat COVID, and she was on the program here about 8 months ago, and talked about different options for being able to get it outside of the state pharmacies that you can get it in. There are some other sources of it. So you may want to look back on the podcast to see some of that's available. And you know what? I got to be honest with you. I find it, here's the thing. Whether you believe that ivermectin or hydrochloroquine or something else, whatever, is really effective on COVID or not, that's really between you and your doctor. The doctors the doctors prescribe medicines that are off-label all the time. And what I mean by off-label is a medicine is developed for one thing and one thing only. That's what the development is. But it turns out that there are side effects that cause it to affect other things that are beneficial. And I think even at the time I mentioned that my wife or one of my kids was on a medication that was actually, can't even remember what the medication. I think it was it was a medicine for epilepsy, but they weren't taking it for that. They were taking it because of a benefit for something else for the chemical. Anyway, for whatever it was, the doctor had said, this is what this medicine's for, but don't be too worried about it. What I'm really using it for is this. And they went down to the pharmacy and they filled it, obviously, and they got it. It happens all the time. They prescribe off-label medicines all the time for a variety of things. This should not be shocking to anybody. And the fact that the pharmacists now are getting involved and doing all these other kind of things and pushing back against a doctor's orders is a little crazy to me. Whether you agreed with it or not, I thought that was something that should be between. I mean, if somebody wants to kill themselves by taking some medicine that is unproven or I still think if somebody's got cancer and they want to try some new age treatment on, if you eat the fertilized goat's eggs from a black goat that was, born under a full moon or whatever, because you think that's going to cure cancer, well, then go for it. Go for it. If that's what it is, that, it's up to you. That should be your choice between you and your doctor. And nobody else should really have any say in it at that point, in my opinion. So you're right. I get agitated about that kind of stuff too. So I'm sorry, Kay. I accidentally had
on your chat.
I'm sorry, Tay.
On his Facebook. It was June the 30th. He didn't, as proud as he was in this video, you can go to UAAISU, Doctor of Pharmacy Program. It's right there, first video. And he's so happy to be doing it. And he didn't even put it on his Facebook. June 30th.
I'm sorry. I lost the first part of what you said there, Kay, because I had you turned down. What did you say about who's on Facebook on June 30th?
Okay, so Mike Dunleavy signed this on June 30th, but he did not put it on his Facebook. Last time I checked, I kept checking, and the UAAISU Doctor of Pharmacy Program. It's the first video in there. I kept trying to put the link, but the link wouldn't take me directly to the video, but it did take me to videos, and then you just click on it, and the first video is Dunleavy. And as proud as he was about all this, in his video, he didn't even post it. At the same time, he turned out the PFD thing. Oh, don't look here. Look over here. We're going to give you $3,200, but don't look what I just did for your health.
Yeah.
He knows better. I don't know if he's compromised or he's just a rhino, but Trump should have never, ever mentioned how great he was, and I need to write to him and let him know what's going on here, because it's not right. Trump signed the right to try. Anybody has the right to try, and I don't need a pharmacist telling me how my doctor should prescribe me anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that part 100%, Kay. Thank you so much for calling in. Kevin in the chat room says, let doctors be doctors. That's how we came up with therapeutics and life-extending HIV meds, is because doctors were experimenting with different things. It's called practicing medicine for a reason. It's an experiment. It's not an exact science, that's for sure. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Randy in Fairbanks.
Randy, what's on your mind?
I just saw an interesting editorial piece in the Anchorage Daily News yesterday, Tuesday, July 10. Someone wrote a commentary. entitled "Saying No to a Constitutional Convention is the Most Important Vote You'll Cast." And now I got my own reasons why I'm a little worried about a constitutional convention, but I was curious what specifically somebody else would say. And this person, a lady lawyer who wrote this, didn't come out and say specifically, very specifically, what it is that she's afraid of. She just gave a big laundry list of different things that could be put up. And she says in here, she said, as far as saying no, she said, that's true no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, far right, far left, or anywhere in between. And then she wrote further down, she says, as I write this, outside interests are pouring millions in unlimited dark money into an effort to turn Alaska into a civic guinea pig. They want to shred and rewrite Alaska's founding document and start over again with a boot on the neck. Anyway, on your personal privacy. And she goes on, continuing that sentence, that personal privacy may mean that she's afraid that they'll put a abortion ban or something in there, but she didn't say that specifically. And but I learned something kind of interesting reading this. Well, first of all, another thing I'll read here: any legally qualified voter in Alaska may run to be a delegate. Sitting legislators could and probably would run as delegates and win on name recognition alone. That's I guess that's obvious that might be the case.
Right.
And anyway. And she said also, meanwhile, outside groups representing special interests on every facet of the ideological prism will flood these delegate races with cash in order to put their foot soldiers in the room where it happens. But one thing that I read that that I didn't quite know about is that the legislature can call a constitutional convention anytime, but I went to the Constitution to read where exactly does it say about that, and it simply says, in Article 13, Section 2, regarding convention, it just simply says here, this is the Alaska Constitution, the legislature may call constitutional conventions at any time, but it doesn't, I was curious if they had to have a 2/3 vote or a majority. It doesn't say. Anyway. Did you want to say something?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's if they need a specific vote. I know it can be called by the people. I'm not familiar enough to know, Randy, whether or not the legislature could do it with a supermajority or anything else. We'll find out. We'll see if we can get that answer for you. I appreciate you calling in. All right, tomorrow on the program, Elijah Verhagen in Hour 1, Walter Jones in Hour 2, and we'll be back. We got Friday. I'm thinking of taking Friday off. Did I tell you that? No? Okay. The Michael Dukes Show, Common Sense Radio. We'll see you. Bye. No, I thought about that this morning. I'm actually traveling, and I'm going to be in Homer on Friday, and I'm thought, do I really want to get up early and do the show? I don't know, man. I don't know. Should I take Friday off? I got so much stuff to do. I don't know. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. I hope you guys have a great day. I know you're gonna. Don't forget the good news. 78, 400 squats. Dang. All right, friends. We'll see you tomorrow.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Welcome to the party, pal.